Hello and welcome to the Racing Club Round 3. This is going to be at Japan tonight, so that hopefully that's going to be a nice little treat for you all. Yeah, it's going to be a 50% race here today. It's kind of a standard league race, as we would call it. So variant A, and yeah, we're going to get a little look at this track, which, if I'm honest with you, I think is a fantastic little track, and I cannot believe it's been taken off other calendars. So it's nice to see this, and we've got 16 drivers. Yeah, will be interesting to see how we go here. Looking at the standings so far, because it's probably worth looking at it now. After 2 rounds, so Jaco is somehow winning something. That's turn up for the books. Beating Verstappen, beating Valter, beating Noof, and then Rocco. Car Mentalist in 6th place, Neo in 7th. That is Nathan in 8th. Cohen Blythe in 9th, who I think is missing tonight. So yeah, and Pease rounds out the top 10. So that is how it looks at the moment. We're just on board with QVR Verstappen, who is obviously in 2nd place on the standings, and this should be a nice little track for him. He seems to be one of the people that does not necessarily need the world's most amount of practice. Got a very lovely view there, cracking little view of the first corner, going through the S's. Very technical part of the track. You need to keep it fairly consistent here. It's a flowing set of corners. Get out of shape early on, it's hard to recover the time. Awful little corner that, as we come up to the Degners. Degner 1, you want to throw it in as much as you can. These curbs though will be interesting, just keeps it in bounds. And yeah, exiting Delta 2 for what I imagine is going to be an awful corner on traction here. Knowing when to get that car pointed outwards and then putting on the throttle, but he does a very good job by the looks of it. Going into Spoon, which he will start arriving at fairly shortly. Very difficult corner to nail again, and obviously you need to get it perfect because there is a hell of a long straight going down the back, and it seems fairly successful. Bit safe probably, if anything. Forza Brendan I think is going to be the first over the line. Sorry, Jacob's going to be the first over the line. He does a 29.5. Don't really know what's representative here, if I'm going to be completely honest. Does seem quick, but we'll probably get a good indication as to how quick it is. I was going to say when Noof crosses the line, but also now when QVR Verstappen crosses the line. 29.6, so yes, some very competitive times there, as we have a car just flying around absolutely everywhere. I'm not really sure what that's about, as Neo is going to be the next man over the line. He is going to be doing a 1 minute 29.3, goes fastest. Good lap there from a man who's lower down in the stands than he probably wants, as Slash is invalidated. Got Fleddy coming round here. 29.6, not bad. It's a flurry of cars, so if I miss anyone I do apologise. Gary goes over the line. We've got a Mercedes there. QVR Campbell, very slow time. Bree, what can he do? As we have yellows again. What's going on down that start straight? It seems very strange. As Bree goes 3rd. Great lap from him. Valter though, straight up into 1st. We've got Ben JS. Peeling off into the bits. That didn't look the best. RJ's been caught napping. He's on his outlap. Not the best. He's going to struggle. He might even struggle to get 3 laps in there, to be honest. But have to see. Yeah, we will have Killer Blue here. He's just going to hopefully... He's dashing. He's trying to make a train. So bets on if he makes the beginning of the race. I think he will. He should do. He's right on board with RJ, as it's one of the last competitive laps. He gets a bit of TV time. Bit hesitant with the throttle. seems like he's really struggling actually to find where he needs to apply full throttle through there, which I can imagine is a problem most of us going to have. Doesn't take enough of the exit curve there at Degner 1. This will be, I'm predicting, in the 30s. I hope I'm wrong, but doesn't look the quickest. And again, yes, still seemed a little bit hesitant on the throttle going through there. So not ideal at all. RJ coming out of Spoon. What can he do here at the end of sector 2? Does seem slow. You need to be in the 12s to be competitive. As he's going to take the Casio triangle. I only know that because of James Head. And he's going to come over the line in a 30.2. So he just edges out Rocco. But yeah, not the quickest lap. Bit hesitant, but probably hasn't done a world of practice. As we've just got a few cars coming out now, starting their next set of laps. I think Ben JS will be the first man. Sorry, no, apologies. It's going to be Slash. So we'll ride on board with Slash. See what he can do. Very quick drive. We'll go on with him actually for this one. Go on board, see what this track is like up close and personal. That looked nice. 5th gear, lowest gear that you go into through that corner for Slash is 5th, which is quite surprising. He's going to catch a bit of traffic here in a very unideal place. Even the eyes, even just the look of that and just having that in your eyesight is probably not going to be the best for your lap. Try and find your braking point at Degner 1. These red flags probably help. He swings it into Degner 2. Oh, that's very wide, and he manages to collect the car. The lap isn't invalid, and he will seem to catch a little bit of grass there on entrance into that hairpin, which is not particularly helpful. Maybe there's a connection issue, but it looks very stuttery. I think there's just a slight bit of input, like core. Do you know what, that tower through Spoon is really off-putting. I wouldn't want to be driving with that. I can imagine that just affects your sight lines a little bit as he comes into a place where Fernando Alonso famously went around the outside at 130R. Not something you probably want to try tonight, ideally, because you're not Fernando Alonso. Slash looking a bit tentative, but he's a quick guy, so 30.4, that shocks me. Really shocks me. As we'll have Hugo Verstappen. Sorry, no, apologies. It's Exo Rocco. Got a Haas coming over the line. That's an out lap. Mercedes out lap. Pease has gone fastest in sector 1. Ben JS coming around into Spoon. Difficult to know who is on a lap here. I think the Ferrari of Pease is potentially the first on the road. No, of course, it's going to be Ben JS, so we'll ride on board with Ben. I think Neo is just following him through, realistically. Oh, we have a spinner. I think that will be Jacob. Not what the championship leader needs. Ben JS comes over the line in a 30.1, so that is a valid lap. Not the best, but better than nothing. Because Pease, he could, I think this will be a 0.4? 0.5. So Pease, good lap from him. Verstappen comes over the line, he's going quick, and he goes pole provisionally. Noof also going quicker, but only for a 0.3 up into 3rd place. Not bad from him though. Oh, Carmentalist in the wall. Not, seems to have collected it, so he's okay. As Rocco climbs up to 9th, fairly competitive lap. Campbell coming through the Casio. Oh, he's invalidated. 3. I think that was a previously done lap. We've got chaos everywhere. Pease is flying off everywhere. Forza Brendan going marginally quicker. He might be able to dip Commentalist. He does. Good finish to that from him. As Gary comes over the line in a 29.4. So just slower than. Bouter just caught that. He's the first man into the 28th. Very good lap. Very confident lap from him. Commentalist, obviously, this will not be a valid lap. He will be coming into the pits, we'd assume. As we have Ben JS coming through on his in lap as well. But Neo was obviously following slightly behind him, and he peels off as well. So yeah, should be the breather time. I think that will signal the end of the first part of quali, and then it's the business end. It's the one lap shootout, so to speak, really, where people can try and improve their time knowing that they've got something on the board. Just looking at who's a bit displaced. J. Cole will probably not be too chuffed being in 8th. You'd think someone like Pease would be quicker. Obviously someone like Campbell and Slash as well. But Bree, I mean, Bree does love this track. He does love this track a lot. I once had a battle around it here with him many moons ago, and he was... Yeah, this is probably, I would say, his best track. I'm almost certain he'd have voted for it. I'm glad we're here, not Brazil, because that was the other option that was just edged out tonight. And don't get me wrong, I love the track, but it does create some DRS trains, which can be a bit dull. Whereas this seems to be a little bit more lively, as we are joined by a Wild Killer Blue.
Hello, sir. I have returned. Belated regards. Of West Midlands Rail and baked in a veneer of sweat, but excited for some Suzuka.
Yeah, how was the train journey?
Hellish, which reflects the afterlife that all the British Rail staff will be experiencing after this one. See, we've got Bree doing a lovely job in P2 here. That's exciting to see. Bree flexing his old muscles there.
I think this is probably his favourite track. I remember having a right ding-dong with him here once, and this was many moons ago, but he is rapid here. So, but I didn't think he'd be this quick. I mean, his pace is very impressive, to be fair.
It is. I mean, I'll be honest and blunt out of the box. I've got no idea what a good time is here, but I'm presuming that well, it's not too close at the top. He's actually, Wout has only got Bree within 2/10 of him, and I was just watching Slash, who's gone very wide there at Degner 2. I think the only person on the lap with RJ right now. Slash looked like he had a good first sector, but then kind of walked off the track a little bit at Degner 2 and has since turned off his hot lap there.
He's got a lot of time as well, because he did that the lap before, so, and even worse. So if he actually was up on his first sector, chances are, I mean, genuinely, I think he could be right up there. There's about a second to gain. He just needs to make sure he's got enough as Brendan has left the session, so hopefully he can get back in.
Brendan had a bit of a starring performance in another league's Division 1 yesterday, looking a little more anonymous today, 7th or 6th of a second off provisional pole. Interesting that everyone's just sort of chilling in the pits a little bit now, so I'll say let's watch RJ, but RJ's just gone invalid, I think, on the exit of Spoon. So I've joined at an absolutely cracking time. Brendan disconnects again. Brendan had some issues actually yesterday at Imola, kept hopping out and hopping in. I think ended up 8th. The Ghost was actually quite competitive on his behalf. He has joined again, so he's going to be the first one to start their last lap. That will be QVR Campbell, who's having a very lowly time of it in 13th place right now.
So Noof's on a lap. He's actually on a flyer, so you can ride on board with him. Let's see what he's doing. In the 12s is good through here. He's slightly down, but the Casio Triangle is a very strange place. You can make up a lot of time here. I only know the name Casio Triangle because that's James Head's favourite phrase.
Yes, it's a bit like when Crofty says Sina Delago in Interlagos. Can't help but do it every single lap. I just call it the chicane. There's no other chicanes on this track. It's the chicane. Doesn't need another name. The default is good enough. We've got a yellow flag. That is just Campbell going very slowly, getting ready to start his lap. And I don't like Suzuka at all, Mark, I'll be honest, but it is lovely to watch other people do. less so to do yourself, as Campbell comes through turn 2 here. We've got a bit of a stoppage, a bit of a queue of cars waiting for Campbell through turns 4, 5 and 6 that he's going to have to clear. And even if they do get out of the way, it's going to be an unwanted distraction for the Scotsman, you have to say.
Yeah, just being in the sight lines, especially through the first sector, that happened earlier, I think, with Noof. Just having someone there. Oh! And it did distract him because he's gone right round.
They're covering it well, though. Nice little 360 there. Let's look at Gary then through the first sector. It's weird, I'm not in control of the stream, I'm not used to it. Snaily experience. How's Gary going to go through the first sector? Very competitive at Imola yesterday. Little more subdued today, although a tenth and a half up. Navigates Degner 1 and 2, safe to say, a lot better than QVR Campbell did. We've got yellow flags, people going slowly, trying to clear some space for their laps. Campbell, I think, might be able to go again. We've got a little 3-car horde there between a McLaren, a Williams and a Mercedes, who will probably walk into a bar at some point. Sounds the start of a F1 joke, that, as it is quite the queue there. Where's Gary going to be through the middle sector? Walked a little bit wide of the apex through the second part of Spoon. Now, steep climb up the incline towards the second sector split. No idea what's a good time. It's a 12.6. Gary's lost a touch of time in the middle of the lap there. Just the Casio triangle to navigate now. And you can cut that a little bit more than Gary did. No infamous Suzuka bump now, of course, for a couple of games. And Gary finds himself one place, although he's only 400 safe from Neo there.
His teammate is looking very quick, takes a
Pease
massive
have
lump.
crashed.
Ooh, that's not good for him, but Car Mentalist is going to come over this line, and I think it's going to be quite quick. Ooh, just behind Neo. It's Rocco coming over. Rocco's massively up. Goes third.
That's very nice for Rocco. I'll tell you what, Breeze improving as well. Wouter is 2,000s down through the second sector split, so well within himself to improve that 28.998 if he can hook up here. And that's the cut on the second part of the chicane I'll tell you about. Stays really extreme to the right, and this is going to be... He does find a few hundreds, so 28.959. But Bree is up on that. Brendan goes second there with a 28.988, and Bree's improving by a tenth as well. If Bree holds it together through sector 3, Mark, Bree could be on pole, the little Malteser.
That is absolutely bizarre, I'm going to say, respectfully, but here he comes. It's going to be very tight. Oh, he's done it.
By a tenth of a second as well. Fleddy's coming through. Fleddy's not on a quick lap. Gary is not on a quick lap. Pease has crashed and Slash is slow. So that's it.
That is that, isn't it? Yeah. Unbelievable. So he's managed to beat out some very good opposition here, and the title leaders, albeit very early on, of course, they're not doing the best. Because we've got J. Cole in... Oh, it's come off now. That's annoying. But yeah, I think Verstappen was 8th, which is not particularly great. Wouter is in a good place. But Noof... I don't know. It's actually a bit of a mixed bag, and Bree, who is occupying the lower places, is on pole.
And fair play to him by very nearly a full tenth. And if you're on pole by triple digits in the 10th stakes, that's very impressive. But Wouter second, representing South Africa today for some reason. Brendan third, Rocco fourth, Verstappen fifth because he refuses to be Dutch. Fleddy is sixth, Noof is seventh. Gary 8th, Neo 9th. Car Mentalist rounds out the top 10. J. Cole, Pease, Campbell, then Ben JS and RJ, and Slash a lowly 16th place.
He couldn't get that lap together. Degner 2 was causing him all sorts of issues, so that's not going to be... Well, hopefully he can kind of get rid of that in the race, because that might be ideal.
And Campbell and Pease also. Just in the 5 minutes I was here, struggling with Degner 2. Seem to be catching a few of them out, and I think the format here with the tracks being voted on and confirmed just 2 hours before the race, and I'd like to say I had a very important part in where we're racing today. I ended up having the deciding vote, which was nice. It means you can't really sweat, you can't enter sweat mode too hard, and this game does catch you out more than the previous one. It's not mandatory to stop today, I'm right in saying, or is it?
I believe it's just it's a standard fare. It's the meat and 2 veg. It's the Sunday dinner.
The meat and potatoes, as QBR Verstappen would have.
I think it's just a standard format, from my understanding. Yeah, short qualifying, 50% race. There's no fanciness. It's a standard procedure.
In which case, I'm going to say most people, the majority, will be on hards. I'm excited to be quickly disproven now. Oh no, we've got a fair split there. We've got 8 and 8 actually. Wow. We've got a perfect split. That's nice to see.
So Bree is just thinking, I'm going to get out the blocks. He's going to try and do a BTEC Montana, I think, and just try and get away. If it works, it could potentially be fantastic, but if it doesn't, then Wouter, you'd think, has the pace to probably just latch onto him.
Yes, I think. Well, the pace we saw from him in qualifying, I wouldn't put it past him to run away, at least on the first lap. We don't know how the tyre temperatures are going to be affected. I'm excited with how tricky turn 1 and 2 is here. I'm excited, or hopefully we see a few cars go skittling on at the exit of turn 1, which would be a fun little shake-up of the grid. Got a couple of drivers out of position, Pease on the hards, Campbell on the medium, and I'll ask you, Mark, because we didn't discuss beforehand, but are you taking the start or am I taking the start? I don't mind either way.
You can take the start.
Okay. I'll take the start. Hopefully the game gives me a nice camera angle. But yeah, it'd be hard medium. I'd expect we see everyone pitting around the same point anyway, because you want to kind of maximise your stint on the medium. You'll do a slightly shorter medium stint if you're starting on that tyre, maybe a longer one if you're transition onto that. So I think it'll balance out and we'll see the hards and the medium starters pit around the same time, around half distance. That does seem to be the early meta with the strategy, but given you've seen more of today's running than I have, who's your top 3?
Depends on this safety car. If there's an early safety car, I think it's going to fall into the hands of the medium runners. I'm going to say there will be. I'm going to say... wow, it's a tough one actually. I'm going to say Noof wins from a very chaotic race with... third.
I cut out then. I didn't hear who you said. Noof wins, and then I just heard a long silence and...
Oh, sorry. It's going to be Bree second, and Verstappen in third. I don't even know if that was the order I said in the first place, but there we are.
There we are indeed. So actually the game is giving me a nice camera angle. This is a pleasant change of pace. So we've got Bree on the right of your screen, I think. Wouter on the left. We've got 5 lights ahead of the drivers, and we're underway for round 3 of TRC. Bree and Wouter, even Stevens off the start. Brendan's got a nice start as well there, and they're running side by side into turn 1. Bree's on the outside line. Wouter's on the inside. I think the Maltese is just going to be run a little bit wide there, and Wouter slips through. We've got contact. Neo has pushed round QVR Verstappen at turn 2. We've got some front wing flying as well. I wonder if any other front wings have come unstuck. Yes, J. Cole has lost his front wing end plate there. Up ahead, Rocco is hounding the back of Bree as well. Brendan, the top 4 have broken away a little bit, change of position as J. Cole loses another position. I think the leaders have got away safely, but yeah, that was Neo hitting the back of QVR Verstappen into turn 2, and the cascading effect of that is that fifth down are already out of DRS range. Neo's having to look up the inside of Gary there into the hairpin, and we've got a car going wide in the background. That is J. Cole yet again, just getting out of the way of Ben JS and Slash. Apart from that one or two flashpoints, that was not quite as chaotic as I feel it could have been, potentially with some cold tyres.
Absolutely. Got Noof looking to get past Car Mentalist, who is still taking contact. Everyone's kind of made decent ground, really, and stayed kind of in the train, except obviously that massive break for Fleddy, as Gary is going to be desperate to get past.
We got a big dive there from Campbell up the inside of Pease. Sorry to cut across you there, Mike. That was a horrific attempt at an overtake from Campbell, and Pease has lost two positions in the process. Maybe might have even picked up a slapdash of floor or side pod damage there, tucked in behind Car Mentalist, but that was nasty. Neo's up the inside of Gary there into turn 2.
Wow. I mean, this is quite disastrous for the guys. I mean, actually, Fleddy is doing a pretty stellar job of kind of clawing it back, but the moment DRS hits, that is going to be that, you think, for that little train. And there is another little break with Campbell, but again, he is putting on the burners to catch on to the back of Gary. But the top four have really got away, but Brendan's flagging a bit. Brendan is definitely the one that might lose out here.
And he's bringing Fleddy into it as well. Fleddy was 1.8 behind on that last lap. It's now 1.1. And Brendan's had to use more than those ahead of him. Wouters on 97% come through the second part of Spoon. Brendan down to the low 60s. And only, I think, Gary in the top 10 has less than Brendan right now, who is just struggling a little bit to hang on to coattails, using the all the way up the straight there towards 130. And we are going to get some DRS, not this lap, next time round, because we end up with it only being one DRS and it being on the start-finish straight. We have to have 3 complete laps before it comes into use there. Have we got any close battles behind? You mentioned Nooth, now ahead of Car Mentalist, hunting down QVR Campbell now, who is on the bubble, the falling out of Gary's DRS. And I wonder if Campbell's actually picked up some damage there from that collision with Pease, because look at Campbell going really wide through turn 2, all out of shape as the Mercedes, and he's dragging a little crocodile along with him. Nooth, Car Mentalist, Pease, RJ, all looking hungry for blood, you have to say, and Campbell looking a little bit naked and vulnerable.
You'd have to assume, because he's on his day, you'd think he'd be catching Gary, or at least staying with him. So, yeah, that would be a bit of a fair assumption, I think, as Neo is making good headway. It's probably quite shrewd of Gary in a way to let Neo get ahead, because Neo's got the pace and he's far more likely to latch on to Fleddy, and who has dropped a little bit back, but not the end of the world. Again, you mentioned the 1 DRS zone, so actually being just outside of it isn't as painful as other tracks, but still not ideal. You still kind of want to be within that second, as Neo's getting really comfortable here. I think he may well have a go down the main straight.
I think he will. I think he's running higher wings than Fleddy, you can see, because Fleddy neither using the RS too much, but Fleddy pulling away just a touch on the run towards 130R. But Neo, I think, is going to set this up nicely, gets a much better line through the second part of the chicane, has a little squirm on the exit, which won't help his cause too much. Fleddy's really weaving there, trying to break the slipstream, and Neo is going to have to wait another lap as Campbell there passes Gary, and I wonder, because Gary's on mediums, I thought Gary would be on the pace of Fleddy, at least on the hards, for the first couple of laps. I wonder if there's actually quite a few drivers, just from where it constantly ended up in turn 1, turn 2 on the first lap, running with damage, because I can't imagine, given how quick Gary seems to be this game, that it's all Gary's natural pace, because he's on 25% ERS, far lower than pretty much anyone else in the field, bar for Campbell, who, again, we've speculated, has got damage. So I wonder if there are a few out there that have just got some light green or some yellow end plates.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's a lot of people that are in that 7, 8 temps, and it's kind of flicking around between 5th and 7th. But Fleddy's doing a good job. I don't think the tyres will be advantageous yet. He's using a lot of ERS. That does explain a lot. I mean, but they do seem to be clawing into this field a bit more. And big shout out to Wouter, who is, yeah, I mean, he's in control. ERS, track position. Oh, we have a yellow, and that's our championship leader, who is driving more like he's in a Haas today on realistic performance rather than equal.
He is indeed. I think he had, from what I saw briefly in the chat, he had a wheel disconnection issue in qualifying. I think
Again?
Jacob, mate, you need to get that one checked out, because if it's a recurring fault, he's a danger to other drivers as well as to his own performances. Fleddy and Neo. Fleddy was, we said, 1.8 seconds out, now safely in the DRS of Forza Brendan. So what was a top 4 is breakaway has become a top 6 breakaway. Campbell making no impression on that whatsoever, and now down to 13% ERS. So I think Campbell is struggling with something or another. Is Gary? Perhaps that is an indicator that Gary's got damage. Understeering at Degner 1, runs wide a touch, picks up the first 3-second penalty of the race. And again, very deep into the hairpin there. And Nuth has a little look, spies it up the inside. That gap, and you know what they say, is gap car, but gap not big enough for a Nuth-shaped entity to slide through there. And Carventis just keeping them watching brief on this. On the hard tyres, running nicely, the third of the hard runners right now. But we've not even noticed that, but the hard runners have sunk to the bottom, and the mediums have risen up the field in these first 5 laps. But Carventis doing a good job there, as Gary's now derating and still using his ERS into the chicane. Gary is hanging for dear life onto the back of Campbell.
If I was Nuth, I would definitely be trying to look for a move now, and he is. He's on his he is going to, by the looks of it, make a challenge, but is it going to be... Ooh, he's got their awful camera angle. I mean, a great camera angle in some ways, but not for the overtake. He runs a bit wide. Gary's good on the traction, but Gary knows when to give up, and he seems to have picked up a 3-second time pen as well to make matters worse.
Yes, and now he is in the clutches of his teammate Ariel Carmentalist. And you can see Gary running, I'm not sure who you were watching, but Gary running really sluggishly, the car just washing across the track through Dunlop. And I'm like 99% convinced now that Gary's got damage. Fastest lap for Jacob on some fresher sticky medium. So Jacob, showing he's got a lot of pace as Campbell this time goes quite deep into the hairpin. And Fleddy, having dragged himself in, is now falling and slipping back out again of that DRS range to Brennan, because he's now to 1.1. And I wonder if that's because Wouter possibly has just kicked on a bit. Wouter using some ERS on this lap. I just saw they're out of Spoon Curve.
So Carmentalist has got a problem. He's got Pease, who's looking pretty racy behind him and very interested by the looks of it, but Carmentalist is running a lot lower wings, as is his standard procedure. He makes a very half-assed attempt there to try and get Gary, but doesn't to no avail. Interesting with these two. Gary obviously becoming changing positions, shall we say, in another league. Whilst they're teammates, I think they're more Ocon and Perez than they are necessarily Bottas and Hamilton, I think.
Or even Ocon and Alonso this season in the inter-team dynamic at Alpine. Alonso unhappy with Ocon, of course, at Jeddah and at Hungary. But yes, proverbially and literally, Gary has taken Carmentalist's place right now. As Gary runs wide again at Degner 1. That car just does not want to turn into any of the corners. It's coming across right now. Rocco's had a sluggish lap and is really down on ERS. 6% for Rocco, 60% and 67% for Wouter. And Rocco's only at 9 tenths of a second and runs wide a little bit there through Spoon, derating through there. And he's got the long straight to come. If Brie or Wouter decide to put a spur on here, Rocco's going to find himself extremely exposed to force of Brendan. Brendan not even need the DRS zone here because he's pushing that Williams around 130. I'm nearly hitting the back of him. Pulls to the right-hand side, up the inside into the braking zone. Brendan's got that move done without the need of DRS, and Rocco has had a very scruffy lap as Car Mentalist has passed Gary there as well into the chicane and has hung on to the DRS as well, using the ERS to get away from their teammate down the straight. Gary not even opening his DRS, electing not to use it too much there. And now we've got Nuth passing Campbell. It's all happening, Mark, on lap 8 as Nuth goes very wide on the exit of 1, and Campbell says thank you very much, slips back through, back into P7.
Not helping either of them though. Absolutely not. They're dropping back to Neo, who is, do you know what, it keeps kind of ebbing and flowing. At one point I thought Nuth could pull through here. The same with Neo. Fleddy is doing a great job of sticking onto the back, but then again, so is Brie. Oh, we've got a wide runner there, and that is Fleddy, who's come off, and he is going to be right into the clutches of Campbell if he's not careful. And that is a big change, and in some ways it doesn't change tons really, because he's going to be in Neo's DRS, and Neo has obviously slipped out, especially with that break in the chain. He's not really going to make too much inroads onto the back of Rocco.
Yeah, I think it's just shifted that break in the chain. Though it was between Neo and Campbell, it's now between Neo and Rocco, so that gap's moved from 4th to 5th to the gap between 6th to 7th. So it has kind of shifted the dynamic a little bit there. Rocco hanging on to Brendan after that last overtake, while Brie looks like he's just a little bit happier right now. Perhaps he's having a good time of it without having to use some ERS as well. These two look pretty much, well, they're not checked out, but they look comfortable right now. Gary, first of our scheduled pitters, as here comes Nuth. He's going to take Campbell, second time of asking. Hopefully he doesn't go too deep in turn 1 this time, and he sensibly picks his turn in spot 2 nicely, and the Aston does, second time of asking, make the move for 7th place, but that did put a stall on his progress. He started 7th, he's now found his way back there. Are you still thinking Nuth can win this one, Mark?
It's going to require a bit of luck. I still fancy him for a podium. I like his pace. I do like his pace, and I think if he could, it's going to be tough from here, but a lot has happened. But you've got to back Brie. I think the front two, well, obviously I didn't back Wouter for the win, but I had Brie in second, so I'm claiming that as a moral victory, and I think that could definitely happen, as long as he doesn't mess up the pits. But look at it. I mean, if you look at the track map, there's no gaps really. It's pretty consistent all the way down to P's.
Yeah, with that overtake, Nuth has brought it's closed that opening in the train pretty instantly, and Fleddy and Neo have closed up as well. So we did have a couple of breaks. They've gone now, and it's Brendan who is leading this train, with the front two having scampered just a little bit. I'm not going to say they've run away permanently, because this is ebbed and flowed, as you've said, Mark, quite a lot as we enter lap 10 of this race. Rocco just hanging in there still, going to be down to 0% ERS into turn 1. Neo's on 5%, Fleddy's on 8. It's no one's got anything left. Nuth is sitting pretty with 54, Campbell's on 8, Carmentis is on 20, which seems a handsome amount of energy right now. Pease is on 13. We've got a death that is Slash at between turn 2 and 3. It's quite late in the day to drop it on the exit of 2. I want to know what happened there. Perhaps there was some contact or something, but that's very strange to drop it that far down the track.
Unless he's just overcorrected on the exit curve, and then it's flown to the other side as there's yellows again. I don't know.
That was for Verstappen, I think, briefly made a mistake, because Verstappen's now 6.7 seconds off the back of RJ. Was the only driver in the yellow flag zone when they came out. I'm incredulous when drivers use ERS when they're on 5%. It doesn't convey any benefit. You may as well just try and save. But I mean, fair play to Rocco for trying, but you're never going to get anything back if you keep doing that.
I think what's really interesting here is that with the tyre crossover, Wouter is obviously doing really well, and he's but Brie is not really going to have as much problems as the guys behind him
Neo
because he's
in.
got that DRS as Neo is in. But yeah, Bree can use Wouter probably for 1 or 2 more laps and just keep that gap, which is pretty nice for him, because otherwise Brendan and Rocco are just falling backwards, and Fleddy now is looking like he's going to be making quick work of them unless they get in the pits fairly sharpish. Oh, Slash is out.
In the pit lane, I want to say. I want to see. Let's have a look at. I'm just going to quickly spy Neo's warm up, because I can't think of a worse complex of corners, perhaps other than Jeddah last week, than here, where you want to have to warm up the hard tyre. And Neo, oh, this is horrific to watch, to go through these corners. It's like he's driving on ice. Yeah, you said about Bree. The longer he can extend this stint, this is going to be really good for Bree. I'd say Bree may perhaps in a position to just use some of that ERS now, just to keep himself in for another lap or two. From the visuals of the tyre, they do look like they'd be around 50-60% potentially right now. And you can see from Brendan and Rocco's pace, as you mentioned, in relation to Fleddy, the mediums are starting to plummet. They're looking like they're coming with 8 reverse gears rather than 8 forward ones. Here comes Fleddy towards the back of Rocco. Didn't fancy an opening there into the chicane, as Bree does come into the pits. Rocco follows, as does Brendan, and Fleddy has been released. And what have you seen, Mark?
5-second time penalty for Forza Brendan. Not ideal. See, I think this is going to backfire on quite a few of them. I think Bree might be able to get away with it, but like you said, the pace difference with Neo. But Bree will probably find himself in DRS now of anyone that tries an overcut, which really is only Noof, actually.
I'm excited to see where Neo comes out here. He's going to come out behind Rocco, but ahead of Campbell. And Rocco is going to have no tyre temperature at all. You can see how much Neo closes up into turn 2 there. If Neo's feeling racy, and if I know Neo is, we've got a crash. That is, Fleddy is round at Degner 2. Not seen it. Possibly he's made a mistake. He's carried on going. Now look at Neo around the outside, up the inside into Dunlop curve. That was beautiful from the jump. It was opportunistic, but he needed to get that done while those hard tyres on Rocco were still nice and chilly. Gary passes Campbell in similar circumstances there, and the early pit stop paying dividends for those two, the XL drivers, or not so much for Rocco. But Fleddy is now 9 seconds. It was 6 when he recovered from that spin, so it was going so well for Fleddy, but that will plummet him, I think, probably to the back of the pack once all stops are made.
So Pease and Car Mentalist are in a good spot here. I think Pease will be in a slightly better spot, because I'm pretty sure he's going to get him down this main straight, and I don't think Aiden will fight it. But
No,
he's using very low wings.
Between these two. We don't need reminding. Oh, my word! And Car Mentalist has got revenge for League of Europe yesterday.
Oh dear.
Because he punted Pease round at turn 1. Unless Pease just clipped the curb. It didn't look like it from what I was on board with Pease. It looked like contact. We've got another yellow flag. Fleddy has dropped it all on his lonesome for a second time, and has now decided to do donuts in the middle of turn 2. He's gone through a full 720 degrees. If he's not careful, he'll drop it again when he comes to turn 3. That was a flashpoint ever I saw, and as Car Mentalist picked up damage from that, went very wide at Degner 1, and I wonder if that's some understeer that's just crept in from some possible wing damage. If it is damage, then we know as Fleddy has gone again into turn 5. If Car Mentalist has now got some damage, then that is in confirmation that they hit the back of Pease. Pease might have just clipped it on the curb. I don't think so. It looked like contact, but I don't want to be too quick to judge. We shall see. But if it was contact, the storylines write themselves in league racing, don't they?
See, the funny thing is Pease is now actually catching him quite rapidly. I think there is damage because he caught him about 3 attempts around Spoon. Spoon's a pretty good indicator for any understeer. So, but the straight line of comments is bailing him out a little bit. But I imagine Pease will be back onto him.
A Car Mentalist in. So that must have been damage, and excited to see how that one goes down after the race. But let's compromise Carl Middleton's race, because we saw from the medium runners, no one went any longer than 12 laps, and that was Nuth on the mediums. Carl Mentalist is being asked to do 14 laps on the mediums, and he's got a few cars to clear in the process. So I think there's going to be a struggle to get to the end of the AlphaTauri driver there, quite possibly.
Fleddy, I mean, he may well have had some kind of a non-fixable damage, so don't want to be too harsh on him. But yeah, that was a nightmare from him. I was looking forward to seeing how he was going to interact with the medium runners, so that is a crying shame, actually.
Who have we not really mentioned this race? Let's have a look at what Bree's gap to leader is. It's 25.7. See how that evolves over the next few sectors. I don't think there'll be too much difference in the tyre between Wouter and Bree. The hards do tend to hold together very, very nicely. Verstappen having quite a fair of things, 20 seconds off the lead, albeit yet to pit. A safety car, probably, because say if there's a safety car now, everyone who's pitted for hards would not pit. A safety car in, let's say, 5 laps time, if you want to goal hang for one, would play into Verstappen's hands a treat, wouldn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I think the one we really haven't mentioned is RJ, because he's just too far. It seems like he's been 2 seconds in perpetuity for anyone ahead of him. So feel a bit bad for him, actually. But you often find if you're kind of patient, something might come to him. Because he's drove a fairly tidy race, but yeah, just slightly off the pace.
Yeah, it's a horrible one when you have those races where you just kind of all by your lonesome. But RJ showing, I think, good pace on there. It's got to be wary though of Carl Mentalist going to be coming at RJ at a rate of knots. Neo, having made those jumps in the pits, is now custodian of the train that Brendan was running earlier on, with Rocco, Campbell and Gary in close company. Gary once again just hanging on a little bit there. Bree Watch not catching Wouter at all on the fresh hards. So if Wouter can cover off Bree's long undercut once Wouter's on the mediums, I think that will be curtains for the race. But we live to be surprised. But yeah, it looks like Neo is the one who's the cork in the bottle right now.
Yep, Rocco's right on his tail. Nuth is catching Bree quite rapidly, so there might be a bit of hope for a fight for the lead, but it's looking hell unlikely realistically. But as Rocco is going to have a look, surely, yep, he's going to go to the inside. I don't think Neo's really fighting that on that basis of staying on the outside. I think he was more concerned about making sure he didn't compromise himself for Campbell behind him. But saying that, Campbell is gaining. Ooh!
Yellow
Ben
flag,
JS.
that is Ben JS at the exit of Spoon. They really need a safety car. They need something to happen to get themselves in this way. Otherwise, I'm sure they can think of many things that would be better off doing on their Sunday evening than running nicely at the back of Suzuka. Tell you what, Rocco has checked out a little bit on this lap, and Neo's struggling through Degner 2 there. Campbell just pulling out, letting Neo know he's there, and Neo's got to be careful if he wants to keep a hold of not just 7th place, but 8th place as well. Neo not enjoying the hard tyres too much after making that initial undercut, because Campbell looks a little racier than Neo does right now. Wouter into the pits, and a penalty for Nuth.
That will cheer Bree up, because he would have been seeing him getting bigger and bigger in his mirrors, and that will do his confidence no any good, as Pease also comes in. What will Verstappen do? Is Verstappen going to just goal hang? Is he going to... Good plan.
I wouldn't put it past safety car given how this race has gone so far. Bree is comfortably ahead of Pease, but well behind Wouter. Of course, Wouter though has got the warm-up phase, so that's where the rest of the and the time is going to come from. But Wouter's warm-up phase will be much shorter than Breeze was. Fastest lap for Car Mentalist. P slots into 11th place, but on arguably the best tyres available right now. Breeze only found 0.3 on Wouter through Sector 1. So the end of that hard stint was absolutely mega for Wouter. And this is why I say the hard-medium strategy is better than the medium-hard, because you don't have to suffer that hard warm-up phase. It's nowhere near as compromising to go from the medium to the hard coming out of the pits as it is to go from the hard to the medium coming out of the pits as it is to go from the medium to the hard. Breeze gained half a second, but that's nowhere near enough to put him back to where he was. He's lost 3 seconds in that pit stop phase.
We've got part 2 coming up here for 11th place. We've got Pease and Car Mentalist. Pease is in that warm-up phase, and as we know, Car Mentalist likes running some very low wings. 3 temps going through 130R almost seems perfect. As he just loses a bit of pace, but he's pushed out of the out of Spoon. But no, it's not going to happen, unfortunately. I was hoping there was going to be some side by side there.
Well, I thought Commandos would catch there up the straight, but Pete wasn't really using too much and seemed quite comfortable on the Delta in terms of the difference there. They're both caught up to RJ now, so RJ is going to bottle these two up unless Pease can get past into turn 1. And I think Pease is going to get some nice distance, probably some much needed and wanted distance between himself and Car Mentalist up into 10th place. And you think that could be at least a lap now in hand as Verstappen is passed by Wouter for the lead of the race on the exit of Dunlop. And given what I think Verstappen's just lost, the Delta went out by 0.6 on exit. I think Verstappen's made some kind of mistake there and goes very wide and spins into the gravel, or half spins at Degner 2. So I think Verstappen he's got a puncture, a front left puncture. That's what it was for Verstappen.
Oh wow.
So the hard tyres only go 17 laps or so, because that is shocking. And if that's the case, there is no way Car Mentalist is going to get 14 laps out of the medium, surely.
Yeah, you'd probably think that. I mean, there could be he could be running very low pressures potentially. That's the only thing I can think. But Car Mentalist is going to be so frustrated because he is sat right behind RJ, who has lost a gaggle of time to Pease. What's he going to do here? He's not pushing, but again, his wings are just so different because he's catching in the slipstream. It's almost not good to catch that much. He's having to kind of back off.
It's an irritating situation where you catch almost enough, but not quite enough, that you then still have to back off at the end of the straight. But this is going to be easy pickings as P sets fast lap to rub salt in Car Mentalist's wounds. But here we go into turn 1, and Campbell has passed Neo as well. Neo loses another place, but Car Mentalist and RJ can resume hostilities with 1.3 seconds between them. Verstappen does come into the pits at long last, and Neo, Ben Jess has retired on track on the exit of the hairpin, and that is going to be a full course safety car. Verstappen, how do you like your luck? 1 lap too late, could have been second. He's now going to be 12th. On the softs though, that'll be interesting. So this has saved Gary's bacon, because Gary has been on those tyres longer than anyone else. Gary would have had 18 lap old tyres, 1 lap longer than Verstappen did, were he to go to the end of the race at full tilt. So if indeed that is a wear-induced puncture for Verstappen, and Verstappen's tyre pressures are representative of the rest of the field, which I see no reason why they wouldn't be, Gary would be in a spot bother here. Neo has also gone an extra lap than most on the hard tyres.
What do you do if you're Wouter? You're on 2 laps mediums.
Oh, you got to stay out. You're on better tyres than those behind you.
Bree has to
anyway.
Pit. But if Bree pits, that makes the rest of the field pit.
You can't give up track position here. You can't give up track position here, Bree.
Oh wow, really? I'm amazed.
If this was Bahrain, as Neo comes in, I think Neo.
Everyone below Neo is going to pit.
Nothing less to lose in that situation. But yeah, if this was Bahrain, I think we would have seen everyone in. But overtaking opportunities are limited here, so I think track position is king more so than desirable tyres. Gary's going to get held a little, or was held just a touch. I think in the... Oh no, sorry, not Gary. Sorry, ignore what I just said. Got confused there. I had a fever dream. The Gary and Neo were teammates. So, Bree, in 7th place on soft tyres. The irritating thing for Bree is that the person directly ahead of him is actually on quite nice tyres. It's Peas. So Bree can't be the instigator. Bree's got to try and follow through Peas before he can then try and dispatch Peas separately.
Wow, that... I mean, I did say Noof could win this, but it's looking a bit unlikely at this point. But it's not impossible. It's not impossible.
Not impossible at all. And we'll have, what it'll be? It'll be lap 21. End of safety car comes in. I'm assuming J. Cole will catch up. J. Cole and Verstappen brought back into this race. Car mentalist as well after that damage for the collision with Peas. So that does bring everyone back into play. J. Cole doesn't have a penalty, so J. Cole could actually end up getting a solid 7th or 8th place here. 5 people ahead have penalties. A lot of people on hards. There's going to be madness galore when you get Bree, Neo, Gary, et al. Try and come through those hard runners as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Particularly on the restart where the hards might not be as up to temperature as the softs. J. Cole, championship leader, I think has got a good position. Is in a good position to get an unexpectedly good result here.
I'm going to go top 5 as a bold prediction.
Top 5. Well, we saw in LOE last night Campbell went from 14th to 4th in about 5 laps, courtesy of being on the right tyre at a safety car restart. So I'm inclined to agree.
Yeah, this is going to be... It's going to be very interesting. There's going to be 6 laps left.
Jacob's back in.
What's he doing? Maybe he just wants the freshest of fresh softs. Why not? It's a bit risky because he's got to catch the snake again.
I think, and yeah, it is just a straight swap. I think possibly with J. Cole knowing that the field will back up to let the safety car go in sector 3, he'll have more time than he otherwise would to catch up. So I don't think this will be an issue for J. Cole too much. But the trouble is, he gets fresher tyres, but then he has to go at full speed to catch up to the pack, which means he takes more out of his tyres than he otherwise would have done. So I'm not sure really how much he's actually gained there by making that stop, but we'll see.
I suppose you could argue they'll be up to temp, which is a big problem.
Yes.
A big problem. That is going to be very interesting with the hard runners, actually. Peas could find himself... I think I'm going to make a prediction and say Peas will either be, in 2 laps' time, 3rd or above, or last.
Well, are we going to get a safety car in this lap? Oh no, we're not. J. Cole isn't going to catch up in time to force the safety car in. The gap on the Delta is 10 seconds. We could get a super late call here if J. Cole gets within whatever the game is coded to. I don't think we are we? Have I hyped up nothing? I've hyped up nothing. We're going to get another lap behind the safety car. So,
Thanks,
J. Cole pushed on that outlap for no reason whatsoever. Put wear on his tyres for no reason whatsoever.
I'm surprised he didn't do it again. If he did, and just, you know, the less laps the better. He's got no pens.
It does that, it's true. It keeps Nooth and Brendan in play. If we're going to have 5 laps of green flag racing at the end of this lap, we'll get going on lap 23, and I think regardless of where the crocodile is, it will be in this lap, irrespectively. Is one of my pet peeves here on the safety cars is how close you follow to the car in front.
Who's the biggest defender?
Right now it's Rocco. Every time I see the Delta somewhere dip under half a second or so, I see red.
Oh, it's
And,
not, he might have the stream on. he's backed right off.
I should hope that we've got a couple of drivers tuning in. But everyone is well behaved right now. You don't need to follow it even more than a second while the safety car's deployed. No one's going anywhere. You can safely close up once we get safety car in this lap message. Otherwise, follow at a safe distance. But people love to get in people's heads, and I know Rocco would love to get in anyone's head on a league racetrack. So I'm not too surprised that Nuth, wonder if he's going to try and spook Wouter into making some kind of mistake, because that's all Nuth can really do. On some very aggressive weaving as well from the German Nuth. It's all you really can do, because as soon as we get going, Wouter's got better tyres. You're going to check out pretty quickly, I should think. But the focus is going to be on Bree, Pease, Neo, Gary, RJ, Carl-Enders, Verstappen, J. Cole. What progress are they going to make? When is Wouter going to drop the throttle?
You think he'd go here? No. Very strange.
He'd have better tyre performance through the chicane, so you may as well make use of it and go early rather than later. Brendan weaving down the straight, still trying to get some temperature into his tyres. And look at Campbell pulling out to have a look into turn 1. There's no other moves going on, and although Gary has been caught absolutely mudded, sleeping down the straight. A second Gary had lost on the approach to turn 1. Otherwise, they're dragging each other. It's like they're connected by a string through the S's here. Someone looking for half an opportunity, whereas P's 0.2 of a second behind Campbell. But until someone makes some kind of mistake, P's is just kind of single file. There's nothing you can do whatsoever, and the hard tyres seem to have come in nicely in terms of the temperature, and we've got some side-by-side there between RJ and Carmentless on the exit. Dayton 2. Carmentless is going to go up the inside for the hairpin and pulls that move off nicely as Verstappen tries to have a look as well. Ends up going a little bit deep. Round. We've got Campbell round on the hard tyres. That's one place for Pease and the others. And, well, that was, until then, quite a nice, tidy restart, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see Pease's pace. It's just been unleashed with that gap because he's just closed about 2 or 3 temps. He's using a lot there. I think Bree has been affected by mentally of his track position because he's not looking the same driver in the midfield now. But Nuth doing a good job of keeping on the back of Wouter. I suppose all he has to think about is if he gets, I don't know how many warnings Wouter's on, but if he is on 2, it's game on.
It is indeed. I mean, it could be game on anyway, because if Wouter's just put under any kind of pressure, like you run wide and Degner, you're going to pick up a warning in the process. Nuth is absolutely flying, trying to make it, of course, back-to-back victories in TRC, become the league's first ever repeat winner, of course, because this is season 1. Let's have a look. Gary's close to Neo, but I'm just trying to spot if there's anything likely to happen. I don't think there is too much, although J. Cole is close to Verstappen on. I suppose a lot of this is depending on where people choose to deploy their ERS. Gary got a little out of shape through Degner 2. Carmentless is using some ERS on the approach. The hairpin is going to send this up the inside, nearly hits the back of Gary, and then pushes Gary round. Hits him once, not twice, and J. Cole's trying to follow through on QVR Verstappen. And in the process, RJ has slipped through up the inside of Carmentless on the run down towards Spoon. Now they're both deploying their ERS in towards the corner. Carmentless takes the tighter line, slips back through, but this has broken these guys away on these soft tyres from the train, and that could be any hope of a good result over. Carmentless using more ERS on the climb to 130R.
Yeah, Gary is determined to keep him behind, even if it's not necessarily the wisest idea. Always RJ and Verstappen go ding dong here. Verstappen does get through. But Bree really putting Pease under pressure. I think Pease has made a mistake at the last corner. Pease goes up the inside. Sorry, Bree goes up the inside. And that is move done. And now, what can he do? He might just get this podium. He may well just.
Well, if Bree can get past Rocco, he'll recover his second place at the very least. With the penalties for Nuth and Brendan has yet to be applied. Gary and Carl Mentalist have pulled themselves back into the train, although at the expense 20% less ERS than Neos and Peas ahead of them. Verstappen has made that move to stick nicely on Campbell, and not Campbell, on RJ. Penalty for Campbell though, who is just making up the numbers really at the back of the field on 13 lap old hard tyres. Pease hanging with Bree nicely here. Bree on the fresher softs hasn't pulled away at all through the twisty windy wiggly bit of Suzuka, and Bree has kept himself in a position nicely to strike if Bree makes any kind of mistake on the exit of the last chicane.
See, Rocco is in a very interesting position here because he's got second in the bag as Jacob gets past RJ. That was just before 130R. As Pease and Bree, he sends it. And this is going to be awful because Bree's going to have DRS as well. This is going to be a straight run. And you have to think that Bree might be running slightly higher wings at this point. And I think he is because Pease has done it.
I can hear Bree's frustrations vividly in my mind right now. It's like the man is reaching out and talking to me in the commentary box, such as his iconic frustrations. Neo following very closely there, 0.2 of a second, trying to pick off any more scraps that may arise between these two. J. Cole has caught a wild Verstappen nice and vulnerable for P10. Sam has a penalty anyway, so there's no need to make this move. As Carl Mentalist gets a penalty there on Degner 2, and I wonder if that's given Carl Mentalist any more incentive to overtake Gary than they already had. Having a look into the hairpin, trying to keep the nose in there, just irritate Gary a little bit perhaps, and then poor exit though for the second half. Gary using some more ERS. I think he's just recovering from possibly a little mistake on the exit of the hairpin because it lost a couple of... and Carl Mentalist nearly round at the exit of Spoon there, caught a big slide. That was well recovered, but the gap slipped 0.8 of a second. That could be that for any hope of a move. We've only got one lap to go, of course. Look at Nuth behind Ariel Wouter. Nuth has timed this perfectly. 1 lap to go. The gap at 0.3 of a second. He's got some ERS in hand too as well. Wouter's going to use all the way down straight. What are the gains? I think Wouter's got running lower wings. You can see the Ferrari pulling away down the straight there. So I think Nuth's advantage is very much in the corner. As far as lap for Campbell on 13.5 tyres as J. Cole passes Verstappen just on the way into turn 1, and Mark, we're on the last lap of this race.
Crazy how quick it's gone. That has solidified Jacob up to 8th place, you have to feel, because he should be able to keep with Gary and Carl Mentalist now. But yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a Wouter, Rocco, Pease 1, 2, 3 with Bree agonisingly losing out thanks to that safety car. And you've got to wonder exactly how far someone like Brendan is going to drop. Talking of dropping, he seems to have lost a boatload of time there. I think
Brendan is going to have to drop all the way down to Neo. It's going to be to P7 for Brendan. Nuth will be sick because that train is well within a second. Let's look at Pease following Rocco. There's second place to be had here. There's going to be nothing doing for the lead of this race, but I think Pease might try and have a look, but they've all deployed all of their errors utterly, completely.
Carl Mentalist.
Smithereens. Carl Mentalist is closing on Gary. They're on to 0%, but look at the run we've got towards the chicane. Carl Mentalist pulls out to the outside, makes it the inside for the last chicane. They're nip and tuck on the brakes. Wouter's going to come through to win this race. And the two Alpha Tauris are neck and neck, almost out of the chicane, but Gary holds on ahead of Carl Mentalist, who's got that late penalty. I missed the rest of the result, but I'm sure congratulations to everyone who finished. That was good fun, Mark.
That was great. I just managed to catch Wouter coming over the line. Great effort from him. Pease driving the day, probably hard to argue with actually from the game. Yeah, that was a very impressive win there from Wouter. Never seemed to be too much in doubt either.
He didn't know. Took the lead into the first corner, fended off Bree for that first stint, and then after the pit stops, looked in control other than perhaps the brief advances of Nuth only for Nuth's penalty, really, you could say, put a damp squid on the end of that race. Nuth says he got effing robbed, man. Not too sure what the reason for that is. Gary says this track is so bad. Got any more reactions? Campbell, fastest lap. It does deserve a shout out. Campbell getting fastest lap on the 13-lap old hards.
Great.
Verstappen expressing some frustrations on the racecraft. But let's quickly go through the result. Sorry to interrupt you, Mark. Wouter wins by 2.7 seconds from second on the grid. Pease is in third from 12th. That's a great run for the Ferrari man. Nuth is in fourth. Could have won that race, but for a penalty. Bree unlucky from pole to fifth. Neo is sixth. Brendan seventh. J. Cole recovered well from obscurity early in that race after that first lap to eighth. Gary is ninth. Car Mentalist is 10th after their ding dong battle. RJ 11th. Campbell 12th. Verstappen 13th, Ben Chase is 14th, Fleddy 15th and /16th. Those last three DNFing. Sorry, Mark, you were just about to say.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't quite catch how close Jaco and Brendan was over the line. That's pretty intense.
How close was it? I didn't catch it either.
200ths, so fairly close. But that was a bit of a wild race. I think a lot of battles that didn't make a lot of sense. I think, but I'm glad they happened because it was entertaining. But those AlphaTauri boys created a lot of drama.
Yes, and of course that moment with Pease as well. That was something from parody. You have to say, given what went down in the league last night, but that was thoroughly entertaining. What format have we got next week? Let's have a look. If my Discord wants to load, it is. The suspense is unreal. It is format C,
Sprint.
and format C is a sprint weekend. One-shot qualifying, sprint, 50% race. No idea what track's going to be in the vote, of course. Nature of the league, but that was fun. I enjoyed that.
Feel for Bree. That's who I feel for. Who was almost a shoo-in to get driver of the day for me until his slightly questionable. I would have made the same decision. I'm not going to lie, but that definitely qualifies it as probably incorrect, to be honest. But yeah, I think
we've got some beef between Car Mentalist and Gary in the chat.
Oh dear.
Car Mentalist is aggrieved at what happened at the hairpin. I have to say, I don't think Gary did too much wrong there. It looked like more of a send from Car Mentalist. I'm actually slightly on Aiden's side. I thought that Gary kind of cut back across on the exit a little bit, but it's difficult without the actual onboards because you can never really tell what people do and how they do it. I was on board with Aiden into the hairpin, and it is a tricky one. Car Mentalist was kind of alongside enough for space, but also became alongside sort of very late in the day with the nature of the attempt. So it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But I don't think Gary did too much wrong, even being truthful. But nice it's caused some beef. We love beef, especially with some gravy.
Absolutely. Right, I'm going to end the stream because also I've got the music in the background. I don't want to get copyright. Well, actually, yeah. Well, I don't want to get copyright strike now. But yeah, it's been fun. We'll be back next week. Oh, I might not be actually. I've just realised. I'm going to be at Snetterton. In fact, I'm almost certain to not be doing it next week. So you'll have to be joined by hopefully someone else. And hopefully we'll have the YouTube stuff sorted.
If not, it'll be me, myself, and I, and there's nothing wrong with that. I can listen to myself speak for all day. So, looking forward to next week then, and hopefully to have you back in a couple of weeks' time.
Absolutely. Cool. It's been a good one. Thanks, guys.